We are all anxiously watching the tropics for signs of development this hurricane season, but there are some pretty impressive afternoon and evening thunderstorms most any day right here on the Sun Coast. In today's Injuries Are Personal with Reynolds Law, attorney Carl Reynolds is here to make sure our insurance is ready for storms and the potential damage to our homes at any time. Great to see you.
Great to see you.
All right, so you shared some photos with me that were kind of amazing and video, and I want everybody to see what you sent me.
There we go. It's right there on the screen. This is from my front. This is from my driveway, and I'm looking north, and I saw these two I didn't know they're water spouts. At first, I wasn't sure if they're tornadoes or what was going on. And they seem to be kind of making their way towards us. And so I'm looking for anything that's loose outside that might be swept up. I mean, I've never been involved in a tornado, never, you know, you hear about them out east in some of our severe storms, but not closer to the coast. So, so yeah, this was wild. It was right off my, right off my front driveway there.
So it kind of brings up the conversation of we don't have to just be worried about hurricanes and tropical storms. And I think we all realize this anytime you're out, we get one of these huge daily storms. You can get damage at any time. You can get flooding at any time. So what kind of coverage do most of us have in our basic homeowners property insurance? And are we okay if something like that does damage?
For sure. So, you know, those water spouts end up dissipating and things, but it got me thinking, that's why I sent you the video, as to, well, what if they made landfall and they had tornadic winds and caused some damage? Are we covered? And typically you're covered under your homeowner's policy for wind damage. Now, be careful. You got to read your policies to make sure you don't have a wind damage exclusion, and you would have to buy a wind damage rider, okay? But most of us have wind damage coverage.
Okay.
But because insurance rates have skyrocketed, you may have tried to cut corners and you may have dropped that coverage. And if you did, you got to buy a wind damage rider. You need to get that supplement. What isn't typically covered is any flooding that's associated with it. So the actual wind damage you get, but if it blows water on, like this was a water spout, if it somehow blew water and caused water intrusion into the house, or the hurricanes, we've heard about that and been through that. We're headed into hurricane season. We need to make sure you have flooding coverage, because if you don't have flood coverage, it's not going to cover the water intrusion in the house from either a tornado, a water spout, or a hurricane.
Well, I have a question about the flood coverage, because I know neither Linda and I live in flood zones. So I've never had flood insurance. But if an afternoon thunderstorm flooded your street, flooded my street, and caused water intrusion, as you call it, into our home, does that mean I am not covered?
Right, because you don't have flood insurance. And you would... Being in a non-flood zone, if you get flood insurance like that, it's usually relatively inexpensive.
Got it.
Okay, so it might be worth looking at if you see the risk. Right.
I'm afraid not to have it.
Right.
Okay, and I don't have it, and now I'm afraid I don't have it. I'm not going to lie, that's scary.
But now's the time to check.
Now's the time to check before it becomes a problem and before there's named storms, because what happens is if there's a named storm coming, typically, if you want to get the insurance, it's too late. Once there's a named storm or there's a projection that we're going to hit, the insurance won't seal that insurance contract until after the storm hits. So you got to do it before things are in the works to where we're going to face some issues that might require or necessitate the insurance. The other thing is, what about my vehicles, right? Because that was another issue. What if this tornado had hit my vehicle, okay? You have to have comprehensive coverage on your vehicle in order to cover the vehicles. If you don't have comprehensive coverage, then if it's damaged by an act of God, a tree branch, tornadic winds, hail, that sort of thing, then you're not going to be covered. And be sensitive to the deductible too. You can reduce the price by increasing your deductible, but then you're going to have to suck up that deductible if you suffer damage.
But if I'm parked on St. Armand's Circle and the floodwaters come in, because I saw it this weekend on an afternoon rainstorm, we were up to our knees this weekend.
Were you really?
So if my car had been parked there and it hit the engine and I had damage, as long as I had comprehensive coverage, I would have been okay.
Typically, most auto insurance policies, if you have comprehensive coverage, it's going to cover that kind of flood damage.
An act of God.
An act of God, correct.
Oh, that's so good to know. And the deductible. My roof went, the next door neighbor's roof went. I had 2% deductible. She had 5%. I had to pay $8,000. She had to pay $27,000.
And that you're talking about compared to the value of the home, 2%, or the damage done, right?
Yes,
the value of the home, I think.
The values of the home are exactly the same.
And that's the true with wind damage. damage as well, and sometimes it's a sizable percentage. So you need to pay attention to that when we're looking at our policies as we get into the crux of the hurricane season. You got to look at what those deductibles are and be prepared for that, and make sure you save up and have that rainy day fund in case something happens.
Because I had to pay that before they did any work.
For sure.
And you mentioned rainy day fund. It doesn't even matter. Now is the time. Storm season or not, because every day we're seeing these storms. You saw the water spouts. We saw the flooding. Now's the time to check your insurance policies. For more information about any of your legal questions, insurance or otherwise, you can find Carl at injuriesarepersonal.com.